Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. This is Riddhika Sana. Today I am going to discuss a poem, The Striders, written by an Indian poet A.K. Ramanujan. It will be a line-by-line explanation of the poem, The Striders. So before starting the video, if you want to know some facts about the poet A.K. Ramanujan, you can have a particular video on this. And you can also have a link in description box. So let's begin the poem, The Striders. A.K. Ramanujan is a leading poet of Indian English literature. The Striders poem is one of the well-known poems which is included in the very first collection of the poems by A.K. Ramanujan. This is one of the finest poems by which the poet gives the idea about deconstructive analysis in relation to the poets of Indian sensibilities. Deconstructive analysis means negative point of view or negative perspective of Indian society or Indian culture. A.K. Ramanujan must have felt a special affinity or empathy with the strider. Actually, in real life, Ramanujan was a very shy and modest person. He was the person who is never sure for himself. He was extremely sensitive and has no ego like other poets. He was easily hurt by the society and the negative responses from his environment. Ramanujan was able to identify himself with the strider, the tiny insect, the insignificant water bug. Throughout his life, Ramanujan remained a stranger to his environment, whether he lives in India or in the United States. Even more importantly, he was a stranger to himself. A.K. Ramanujan finds himself very much related to the strider. That's why he chose the poem under discussion as the first poem of his first book of poems. The Striders has a special place in his work. The Striders was the first poem he wrote, and it was positioned as the first poem of the first collection of his poems, which was published by A.K. Ramanujan in 1966. The Striders in the poem is an insect, but it is much more than an insect. It is a compatriot of the speaker. The speaker, A.K. Ramanujan, lives in North America. That is where the strider lives. The speaker and the strider live in the same land, in the same area, and thus the strider is a compatriot of the speaker. The strider is the mirror image of the speaker. When the speaker sees the striders, he sees himself in the striders. The entire career of Ramanujan as a poet begins with the poem, with the book, The Striders. We shall begin with the title first, The Striders. What is the Striders? The strider is an insect. ये वो इंसेक्ट है जिसको देखकर A.K. रामानुजन ने ये पोएम कंपोज की और ये एक बहुत ही शॉर्ट पोएम है. Such kind of insects are very common in North America. It's a very small and tiny insect with long legs using which supports itself on water. The striders walks on water. ये इंसेक्ट नॉर्थ अमेरिका में ज़्यादा पाए जाते हैं. ये दिखने में बहुत ही छोटे होते हैं और इनके बड़े बड़े लंबे पैर होते हैं जो इनकी बॉडी को पानी के ऊपर चलने में सपोर्ट करते हैं. Let us read the poem The Striders line by line. And search for certain thin-stemmed, bubble-eyed water bugs. See them perch on dry capillary legs, weightless on the ripple skin of a stream. No, not only prophets walk on water. This bug sits on a landslide of lights and drones eye deep into its tiny strip of sky. And search. This poem begins with the lines and surge, and is the conjunction which refers to the multiplying ideas to the poet. ये आइडियाज़ हैं पोएट के जो कुछ जाने पहचाने हो सकते हैं और कुछ अनजाने. And search itself stands for an exploration, not in any particular direction nor in any presumable form. एक्सप्लोर करना, खोज करना, जो किसी एक पर्टिकुलर दिशा में नहीं होता और ना हो सकता है और ना ये पहले से डिसाइड होता है कि हमें क्या ढूंढना है. So, and search is the line in which the speaker is searching. What is he searching for? He is searching for the things, for the creature with which he can relate himself, which will give him a sense of belonging or a company. As he experienced isolation and alienation in his life, Ramanujan was a person who always found himself out of place or all alone in India. So he migrated to the United States. He searches for fellow beings there and search for certain thin-stemmed, bubble-eyed water bug. Stemmed here doesn't mean the stalk of the plant. यहाँ पर stem का meaning plant के तनों से नहीं है, but the long thin supportive section of anything, means limbs or body part. The stem here links up with the strider. The strider has long legs which supports its body. Bubble-eyed water bugs. The eyes of the striders very much looks like bubble, जिनकी आंखें पानी के बुलबुले की तरह होती हैं और ये बाहर की तरफ निकली हुई दिखाई पड़ती है. So here we find extremely accurate and graphic description of nature, as if A.K. Ramanujan had a close look at a strider. जैसे उन्होंने माइक्रोस्कोप से एक स्ट्राइडर को, एक वाटर इंसेक्ट को देखा और उस पर रिसर्च की. That's why these physical descriptions are accurate, detailed, and scientific. See them perch on dry capillary legs. Perch means sit. Perch means rest at a spot. And the striders are certainly resting on water. See them perch on dry capillary legs. Capillary means nothing more than a thin tube for a thin blood vessel, for example, weightless on the ripple skin of a stream. Weightless. The strider doesn't drown in water. It doesn't sink in the water. Instead, the strider perches itself on the surface of the water. And the only conclusion which arrives at the striders is weightless. If it had any weight, it would have sunk in the water. जिसका कंक्लूजन क्या निकलता है कि अगर स्ट्राइडर्स या वाटर बग्स का वेट होता तो वो पानी में डूब सकता है, वो पानी में डूब जाएगा. बट इट डजंट सिंक इन द वाटर, विच मीन्स इट इज वेटलेस. स्ट्राइडर्स और वाटर इंसेक्ट अपने बाल जैसे पतले पैरों के सपोर्ट पर नदी के ऊपर बैठे हुए, जो अपने वेट के ना होने की वजह से पानी में डूबते नहीं हैं, दिखाई पड़ते हैं. On the ripple skin of a stream. When the strider perches on the surface of the water, it creates ripples. Ripples are small waves. नदी या समुद्र की धाराएं या लहरें. On the ripple skin of a stream. The poet imagines the surface of water of a stream as a skin which supports the striders. The striders perching on the water, which is picturized by the poet as a weightless object floating on the skin of the stream or the surface of water, which generates ripples. In the first stanza of the poem, the poet gave the idea about a bug's physical appearance or physical description and made it a source of idea. It causes explosion, a burst out of the thoughts for the poet. The thoughts are having no forms in the poem. Although the insect was a stranger, but he made it a point of study. No, not only prophets walk on water. This passage is obviously an allusion to the story of Jesus walking on water, which found in Bible. It is said to be one of the miracles performed by Jesus. It has been explained that the action of walking on water performed by Jesus symbolizes his mastery over nature. It signifies control over the universe. In fact, in some parts of the United States, insect is known as Jesus bug because both the Jesus and insect are capable of walking on water. Strider is a new typically name for the insect. There is no mention of Jesus in the poem. Nothing is said about what Jesus did or did not do. Same as the poet wants to say about some myth of Indian history or the god of Indians, the myth of Vishnu, the Indian god. No, not only prophets walk on water. Here, in this line, we feel the humorous tone of the speaker. Striders are being compared with the prophets. In ancient time और in the history of Indians, ऐसा myth है कि prophets means रथ यात्रियों ने भी नील नदी को अपने फॉलोअर के साथ चलकर उसे पार किया था. Just as the striders do. The bug sits on a landslide of lights. Landslide is the movement of rock, earth down here. It is a landslide of lights. What moves down is not on rock, not mud, but light. There are lights around the water bodies, and the lights are reflected in the water body. And the poet very imaginatively describes the scene as a landslide of lights on which the bug sits. नदी के किनारे पर जो सूरज का अक्ष नजर आता है, उस पर स्ट्राइडर्स, वाटर इंसेक्ट, लाइट की सरफेस, रोशनी की सतह पर बैठे हुए दिखाई पड़ते हैं. And drowns eye deep. The poet has deliberately concludes the fourth line of the second stanza by saying it might be the lights and are the reflection of the striders might be visible at the bottom of the water body. The striders drowns as far as the eye can see. Striders पानी में तैरते हैं, डुबकी लगाते हैं और नदी में जो आसमान का रिफ्लेक्शन पड़ रहा है वो ऐसा लगता है जैसे वाटर इंसेक्ट आसमान में तैर रहे हैं. And drowns eye deep into its tiny strip of sky. The poet now metaphorizes the water body as a sky. The insect drowns to the bottom of the water body, which is its own sky. The poet gives the realistic touch to the conclusion of the poem. Drowns eye deep into its tiny strip of sky. Here the sky is down. The bugs or striders can be seen sitting, perching on the surface of the lights. Here the poet says that the reflection, the light of the sun, shine can be seen into water in the river, and when the strider walks on the water, it seems like it is walking on the surface of the light. When the strider is diving in the river, it seems like it is going into the sky, so the reflection of the sky can be seen into the water. And by concluding the poem, the poet explains how worldly things can change to the heavenly things or divine things. The second stanza also refers to Indian tradition. The poet links the ancient time to the present time. The depth and the potentiality of the insect is heightened by the poet throughout the reference to the ancient prophets who used to walk on the water with their energy without being sunk. It creates an impression of the fact that the poet might be speaking about power of human being who sits on a landslide of light. Means he is even capable of going deep into the mystery of light or universe. This poem, The Striders, explains about the human beings who is very powerful in every aspect. Human being या इंसानों के पास इतनी पावर है और हर उस नज़रिए से वो केपेबल है जो वो कर सकता है. Strider is a small water insect which is a New England name of water bug. Strider can be a small insect, but A.K. Ramanujan explains or delineates it from a different angle. A.K. रामानुजन ने एक वाटर इंसेक्ट को अपनी इस पोयम द स्ट्राइडर्स में डिफरेंट एंगल से दर्शाया और इसे अमेरिकन्स और इंडियंस के थॉट्स से रिलेट किया. थैंक्स फॉर वॉचिंग टिल द एंड. प्लीज डोंट फॉरगेट टू लाइक, शेयर, कमेंट एंड सब्सक्राइब टू माई चैनल.